Right, so I've been watching anime for the past, say, 7 years, and I've only ever really watched shonen. And don't get me wrong, I love shonen, but after 7 years of watching the same genre, it can get pretty boring. So as of the past couple months, I've been trying to kind of branch out, try different animes, different genres. And I decided that the first genre I'd dip my toes into is romance. And now this is quite possibly the worst decision I've ever made in my life. Not necessarily because it's bad, it's definitely not bad. It's quite the opposite, to be honest. I've become severely addicted to the point that it's probably kind of unhealthy. And I'm not even joking, my friends will recommend me shows and I'll just be like, oh yeah, that'll be next on my list, and then I just kind of never watch it because I'm too busy finding romances to watch. And I will get around to them, don't worry, but I need this. Now today I wanted to speak about kind of an old one. It's Love
Chunibyo.
Oh fucking no. And Other Delusions, and it came out in 2012. It's quite old, 14 years or something. And I've actually become addicted to it to the point where it's definitely in my top 5 romances and probably even top 10 animes ever, just because I enjoyed it so much. Okay, so the show starts by introducing you to 8th grader syndrome. Now this is basically just your imagination. As a kid you've got a really wild imagination compared to, say, when you're grown up. Let's take me for example. In primary school, on the playground, I used to run around as fast as I could thinking I was Sonic because I was so obsessed with him at the time, when in reality in everyone else's eyes I was just some fat meatball running around. But in my eyes I thought I looked cool as fuck. And then that's basically what this is, except from it's kind of more prominent, I guess. And obviously the imagination is a lot more wild than, just thinking you're fucking Sonic running around the place. There's full-blown... If you'd think this is a shonen if you saw some clips of it. But anyway, Rika, who is the main character of the show, is still shown to have this 8th grader syndrome. And it's unlike other characters like Yuta, who have been shown to grow out of it and just kind of want, leave that shit in the past. And in the beginning, this show is honestly disguised as just some wholesome romance comedy. And I was all there for it, but actually got misled completely. You're kind of led to believe that the whole syndrome thing is just going to be the funny trope of the show. We all believe that, me and you. Although I have heard people say that they get secondhand embarrassment from just watching it or think it's cringe, which I never really had that issue. I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of cringe myself, I don't know. Because to be honest, at even the beginning I thought Rika was just hilarious. Anything she says was just complete bullshit and she had no shame in the slightest. I actually aspire to be like that one day. But it's actually a whole lot more than just, the shits and giggles that's kind of portrayed on the surface. And it starts to uncover things like just masking emotions as a coping mechanism for trauma, embracing and accepting your past and who you are and who you used to be, and actually a really cool concept of romance which I feel like hasn't really been done that much. Obviously it probably has, just haven't fucking seen it yet, but from what I've seen personally, it's so much more interesting and kind of sets itself apart from the other romances that I've seen. Now Rika's main goal with the whole Chunibyo problem is to find the invisible boundary line. And this is basically just kind of a cover-up for her actual goal of wanting to just believe that her dad is still out there and still alive. And she kind of uses that as a cover-up to not have to face reality. And honestly, just shit like that catches you so off guard. It feels kind of obvious when you look back on it, but at the time it's holy shit. And then on top of that, with the already amazing romance and comedy, it's so good, man. On the topic of romance, that's kind of the next topic I want to delve into, because as I said earlier, it's really kind of unique in its own way. And it really fits the whole theme of the
Chunibyo.
Because I'm not sure if it is, maybe it's just headcanon, and I've seen other people speculate it as well. Rika's got to be somewhat autistic. But even if he isn't, say just your own interpretation, my interpretation anyway, I feel like it's a different side of romance that you don't see. Not every relationship's going to be, fucking flying colours. It takes over a year for them to even fucking kiss. The first any kind of physical interaction they have is holding pinkies. It's really slow burn, really. I think that honestly makes it better, and as I said earlier, that also just completely hooks you because you just want to see something happen. Now, one last thing I wanted to add about the romance is there's no fan service, which I know should be kind of obvious for a bunch of fucking high school kids, but we know what Japan's like. Now, the last part I kind of wanted to speak about was the comedy, just because I mentioned it earlier, and it's so good, man. I've watched a lot of animes, and I have found a couple of them funny, but I think this is like one of the first ones to make me audibly laugh out loud when watching it. It just seems to get all of just the timings, the jokes, everything just perfectly down. I'm just going to show you some of like my favourite clips in the anime.
Do you want me to take it off slowly?
You're doing that on purpose!
I have a rat!
Go home.
I literally love every character in the main cast. They all have the little ongoing jokes. We've got Nibutani and Dekumari, who have like some just straight beef, to be completely honest. They're always fighting, which is fun. You got this one guy who just kind of gets fucking bullied every 5 seconds. Overall, I feel like just the entire like main cast are just so lovable, and they just fill up like the empty spaces by just, you know, being there. And that is basically everything I think of.
週に
Why it's definitely in my top 10 animes ever, and I severely suggest that you go and give it a watch, because I had a fucking blast watching it, and as we know, my opinions are the best opinions, so